Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So Google has announced plans that it's going to derate RT's articles. I find this to be amazing. The search engine itself is saying it is literally going to, what's the word I'm looking for? Derank RT articles to make them harder to find in their search engine results. So here's the thing. We knew that Google, Facebook, and Twitter had been in the process of monkeying around with the search results in order to not show certain content that it did not necessarily want people to see. Twitter came out saying, yes, we've also been shadow banning certain things. So if something was asked about Hillary Clinton's emails, those things might not have shown up. Even if when you put in search results into Google during the election, there were certain things about Hillary Clinton that it wouldn't necessarily show, or that you would have a hard time finding. So I find this to be an amazing thing. You have private companies that for the most part dominate the search sphere, meaning when people go and search for results, Google is one of those things. Facebook is one of those things. These things in some way are becoming a certain level of commons, at least from a digital standpoint. And the organizations themselves are shaping reality based upon their own political leanings. That's gross. That's immensely gross. If you want to talk about finding a way to try to cut out certain information that you don't want the public to have, either because it adversely goes against or adversely impacts your own corporate interests or adversely impacts your political interests, you're in a fucking house of mirrors. You're in a house of mirrors. They're literally trying to shape reality in a way that makes it more favorable to their particular point of view of the world. That is immensely problematic. That is immensely problematic. News agencies should be howling at this. They should be howling at this. This is a corporate enterprise working with the backing of the government, trying to shut down certain narratives that they don't necessarily want out into the public. RT gives a fundamentally different point of view of the world. The point of view is correct, by the way, meaning the information that they're presenting is correct. It's accurate. They don't particularly like it because it challenges the narrative that these main organizations, CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News, propagate. It's fucking amazing. Let me read this. Let's see if I can show it first. There we are. Google will derank RT articles and make them harder to find. Eric Schmidt. All right. We are aware of it, and we're trying to engineer the system to prevent the content being delivered to wide audiences, but we don't want to ban the sites. That's not how we operate. What's the top part? Eric Schmidt and the executive chairman of Google's parent company Alphabet says the company will engineer specific algorithms for RT and Sputnik to make their articles less prominent in the search engine delivery services. They are going to make specific code to derank RT and Sputnik articles. That's fucking amazing. That's fucking amazing. We are working on detecting and deranking those kinds of sites. It's basically RT and Sputnik, Smith said during a Q&A session at the Halifax International Security Forum in Canada on Saturday when asked about whether Google facilitates Russia propaganda. Now, here's the thing. Hillary Clinton didn't lose because of RT. RT had nothing at all to do with Hillary Clinton losing that race. All of this is purely done to obfuscate from her failures. Tech companies tend to vote Democrat. They tend to lean towards the Democratic demographic. So Facebook, Twitter, and Google, these guys for the most part, are Democrats. They are pissed off that their candidate lost. And the way that they're dealing with their candidate losing is to essentially try to adversely impact systems that don't necessarily toe their logic of the world. This is fucking amazing and outrageous. In one sense, you have these type of companies trying to change reality in order to keep out certain ideas from the public consciousness itself, or make those ideas more difficult to find. You have telecommunication companies that are trying to get to the point of literally being able to make fast lanes and slow lanes and cut off certain sites that it doesn't necessarily like because it's not towing the message that they themselves want to tow. This is an attack on free speech. This is a complete and wholesale attack on free speech. Beforehand, they would have this thing of, there were only a few sites where people will go for news and information. So ultimately, you can have this thing where everybody was getting caught in that funnel. What about the web? The web is a wild frontier. And ultimately, yes, you're going to have some wackos on the web, but you're also going to have people giving you accurate news and information and context that you may and certainly won't get from the likes of Chuck Todd. We don't like what that person is saying. That person has ideas that runs counter to our particular corporate interests. There is nobody that is looking for the FCC to do that. Nobody wants it. That's purely just the telecommunications companies, the top 0.001%. And they're going to fuck over the 99% for that small audience. But this is, have no doubt, an attack on free speech. And before Google bitches about, these telecommunications doing that, they're doing the exact same thing. They're doing the exact same thing. They're doing it at a different point in the process of delivering a person's website. But they're doing the exact same thing. All of this stuff is an attack on free speech. I'm not going to belabor the point. At least not more than I already have. RT is right. RT is right. This is fucked up. Own your own shit. Your candidate lost because your candidate was a failure. Own it. Own it. You're trying to change the reality of the people that are on your systems. What about the do no evil? That shit went away real quick. When it went against Google's interest, it got slipped under the rug. Got slipped under the rug. That's fucking amazing to me. And nobody else is howling about that. Nobody else is howling about that at all. People are howling about the FCC thing, meaning net neutrality. But how is this any different than net neutrality? No, they're not necessarily making fast lanes and slow lanes. Google is not necessarily doing that, but Google is making it in a way where you can't find information that you yourself are looking for or you yourself may need, even if the person may put in the correct search terms. You're literally making something specific in order to exclude RT, and that's really fucked up. That's really fucked up. Our ideas are so weak that we need to actually hide these ideas from the public itself. That's amazing. That's fucking amazing. There needs to be more competition in search engines. There has to be more competitions. That has to be going with YouTube, and it has to be done with Google. If they're getting to the point where they're eliminating free speech because it's against their political aims, the company can't be trusted at all. None of these companies, for the most part, can be trusted from a political standpoint. These guys are liars, and these guys are trying to shape reality in a way that best suits their interests, their corporate interests. So yeah, this is immensely fucked up. This is immensely fucked up. I saw this article, and I was like, I have to do this article. If people are going to howl about net neutrality, they should also be howling about this. I'll leave it at that. Alright guys, if you enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support the Patreon. Thanks guys.